What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is the action comedy film Central Intelligence. I still plan to do the big releases on Fridays in addition to the requests you guys have been sending me. I have to say though that you guys have really broadened my horizons so far because you've introduced me to a lot of films I definitely would have never experienced if not for your request. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and don't forget to keep sending them my way so we can discuss these films together. But anyway, let's get into Central Intelligence. So Central Intelligence is an action comedy film directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, who you may know from his work on a couple of things. He directed We're the Millers, Dodgeball, and most importantly, the original Terry Tate Office Linebacker commercial. This video was a big part of my adolescence or young teenage years, so if you haven't seen it, please do, because I firmly believe that you'll love it. I'll leave a link to it in the description for you. But Central Intelligence follows the crime-solving duo of Kevin Hart and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Kevin Hart's character Calvin was once the most beloved student at his local high school, whereas The Rock's character Bob Stone was quite the opposite. While the two weren't necessarily great friends in high school, they go their separate ways after graduation and lead very different lives. Calvin becomes an accountant and becomes increasingly unhappy with his career successes and overall life situation, while Bob becomes a CIA agent wrapped up in a particularly dangerous case. Bob eventually recruits Calvin for his accounting skills, and the two eventually team up to solve this highly classified case after obviously some serious resistance from Calvin. So I saw the reviews are not particularly great for this movie thus far, and I have to say that I like this movie a lot more than most of the certified critics seem to. I think this is right there with Popstar as the funniest film I've seen in 2016 thus far, and these are two of the funniest films I've seen in a while. While Central Intelligence is definitely pretty formulaic and pretty much exactly what you'd expect it to be coming into it, it does what you want it to, and it'll more than likely meet your expectations. I will say though that as the movie progresses, you're more than likely going to be able to see how the story is going to play out from a mile away. But in most cases, this predictability was fine by me because the comedy is done at such a high level that I was really still entertained and invested in these two characters. There's a point later in the film though where the filmmakers try to confuse you a bit and build a little doubt into your mind as to who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. This does kind of make for an interesting sort of tonal shift from the first half or so of the movie, but it doesn't really add too much overall because like I said, this film is very formulaic and what you'd expect to happen is exactly what happens. Okay, so in terms of the acting, I actually thought it was really good in this one. Kevin Hart is pretty much exactly the same character that he is in every movie, but this time around he has a little bit more depth to his character. His character Calvin was a high school superstar and everyone expected him to basically conquer the world. Well, he graduated almost 20 years ago, and while he's in a respectable profession as an accountant, he's disappointed because he expected so much more out of himself. He thought he was going to be the next president or the next big actor or athlete, but instead he ends up an accountant and he's frustrated with his situation. He feels like he's lost some of himself and that desire to be great that he once had. So like I said, same Kevin Hart, but a little bit more depth this time. But don't get me wrong, he's just as funny here as he is in every movie that he does. He implements the same brand of humor and comedic timing that you see from him in his other roles, so just expect that out of him here and you won't be disappointed. Just to clarify a little bit further though, he usually plays that sort of wimpy yet adventurous character that's primarily funny because of their willingness to engage in self-deprecating humor. But it was good to see Kevin Hart branch out a little bit, even if it was only ever so slightly. He has some scenes that sort of tug at your heartstrings and ultimately show off a little bit more versatility in his ability as an actor. These scenes are sort of few and far between, but it's good to see something with a little bit more depth than what he generally does. But to be completely honest, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really steals the show in this one. There's something about The Rock that's really likable, and that's why he's in almost every movie ever nowadays. While he's primarily an action star, he shows off his comedy chops in the best way possible in this one. While Kevin Hart is good, The Rock is great. Usually Kevin Hart makes a joke first, and I was laughing and thinking like, that was pretty good. Then The Rock counters with a joke, and I was like, wow, that was better. Every single time he's on the screen, his character is just really entertaining and likable and versatile. He has some scenes where he's really funny and some scenes where you feel bad for his character for some of the things he's had to endure. He shows off a decent range of emotions here, and you're more than likely going to walk out of this film really impressed with his work in this one. I will however say though that you shouldn't expect his character to be his normal badass tough dead serious, no-nonsense self. His character Bob is kind of a silly and immature dude who's very much still a kid at heart. Don't worry though, he still shows off his action skills with intense fighting and badassery, of course. I should also mention that there are a few other really good characters in this movie as well. Amy Ryan plays Agent Pamela Harris, and Aaron Paul plays Agent Phil. Both do really well, but full disclosure, I am a big Aaron Paul fan because Breaking Bad to me is the best TV drama of all time. He doesn't have a ton of screen time here, but he's hilarious in a couple scenes where he really does shine. There's also a couple other celebrity cameos with small roles that I won't spoil for you, but you'll definitely be excited when you see them on screen for sure. In terms of the actual comedy itself as a whole, I think it will really appeal to a lot of different demographics. My brother and I were in a very packed theater with a ton of people of varying ages, and everyone seemed to be laughing pretty hard and enjoying this film. There's some references to pop culture icons and events, there's some awkward and ironic humor, and there's even some racial humor that actually is really funny without making you feel uncomfortable for laughing at it. There's also a ton of action that will keep you entertained because of the sheer craziness of it all. Here's one problem I have with this movie though, and that's that this film is very, very afraid of violence because they're probably trying to make it as family friendly as possible in order to maximize their profits. The film has a budget of around $50 million, and while I can't blame them for trying to make it family friendly and ultimately make more money, as an adult I was at times disappointed with some of these action sequences that are sort of bland and very cliche at times. They mostly met my expectations, but I would have liked to see a lot more boldness with these intense scenes because they're mostly predictable, and at times they even produce unrealistically non-violent results. I won't say too much, but I'll just say think Stormtrooper aim. Overall though, I was actually pretty satisfied with this movie. I think the comedy was really strong, the acting was very good, the characters are interesting and have depth to them, and the plot was above average, I'd say. I'd also argue the plot can be a tad too formulaic and predictable at times, and the film was a little too scared of violence during its action sequences. I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5 out of 10 and say that you should definitely go see this one in theaters if you're looking for some good laughs and fun. So did you guys see Central Intelligence yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you're excited to see this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button and subscribe to my channel for future content like this. Also, don't forget to send me your review requests and I'll review that movie and give your channel a shout out in that video. That's all for now. This is Willfoxification signing off. See you in the next review.